Yeah, I can hear you fine. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great. How's things going out there?
Hey, I can't complain. You know, it's the beginning of December in New York. We're still in the 50s. How bad can it be? I mean, you're in Connecticut, so you know what the weather's like here in the winter.
Yeah, this is nothing.
I know. So I'll take this any time. I can't complain.
Yeah, that's true.
And I got you on the show today. I have to tell you, great job on the record, man. You really did it.
Thanks a lot. It was about a year in the making, and a lot of the hard work came in with the production with Mike Cicera. You know, he did a lot of the mixing, obviously, and producing of the record, and I think he did a fantastic job on the sound.
Absolutely. You know, Mike is sort of like the godfather, I guess, of Connecticut metal, right?
Oh yeah, and he's such a approachable guy. He's a guy who's played all around the world with some of the greatest guitar players, and he's such a down-to-earth guy, but very professional, though. He was all business in the studio, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. Listen, the band's been together, what, about 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, well, the band was formerly called Graven Image, and
yeah.
There was a couple of different incarnations of that. I got into the band in the spring of 2012, and then we changed. We added a guitar player because we only had Paul on guitar. We were just guitar, bass, drums, and Martin on singing, and then we added Scott on guitar, and then we did change drummers, and now we got Harry Blackwell on drums. He was formerly of Steel Prophet, and also his dad Ed Blackwell is a very famous jazz drummer. So that's been going on for about this incarnation for about 2 years, I would say. So we had to change the name. Yeah, we had to change the name from. Yeah, so we had to change it because there's been so many Graven Images. You know, there's the one. I think they put out a couple albums in the '80s or something like that, and you know, it's such a good name. It's such a good name, but you know, we the label, you know, was kind of reluctant to release something, you know, because of maybe some possible legal ramifications or whatever. So we just changed the name, and so we've been going with that name for about, I think, a year and a half or so.
I get that because there's a lot of confusion and stuff, and that does happen. I mean, you know, people forget in the old days, you didn't know if a band had the same name as you. They could have been right around the corner from you. You wouldn't have known because there was no internet. Today, it's a little easier. People research and find things out, and I get the name change completely. But you put out a great record under the Graven Image name with The Future Started Yesterday. That was such a great record.
Yeah, that record, you know, even though it was pretty, we were on a real tight budget. You know, it was produced basically by the band and the engineer Dave Vignola at the studio. But we actually re-recorded 3 songs off of that record for this album. Yeah, the label really dug it, and they liked a few of the songs. So they asked us if we would put those on the record. So we re-recorded them, especially with Mike at the helm, and it's a big difference. I don't know if you compared the versions, but it's a big difference.
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest with you, you might think it's 2 different bands sometimes.
Yeah. Well, also, you know, we had 2 different style drummers. Between Phil, who was the drummer on The Future Started Yesterday, and Harry Blackwell on this one. Harry definitely brought a different dimension on the existing songs from that record. So I had to actually change some of my bass lines up on that too, because he threw in a bunch of different twists to the new songs. And you know, having Mike at the helm, though, We didn't have him on the first record, so it was a big difference. Having his ear. Guy's got a phenomenal ear.
I'm sure. Well, you work with somebody like that compared to like when you're in the studio, kind of doing it on your own. Is it easy to take advice from somebody who says, "Hey, maybe we should change this around a little bit, tinker with this, add that," or does the band kind of find it like hard to take that kind of command because it's like we wrote the songs, we know how they should sound. But, other people hearing it have a different vision, I guess sometimes.
Well, you have to, first of all, we knew working with a producer, we were going to get, obviously, his input because that's his take on what we're doing. He didn't want to change us, per se. And he did, for instance, there was a few bass lines that him and I rewrote right there in the studio. And they were for the better. We went in there with a pretty much a positive attitude that if there was an idea that he had to change something here or there, we were receptive to try it. And there were ideas that were thrown back and forth too, that we were like, and even he was like, well, maybe that wasn't so good to do it that way. Do it the original way, or try this or try that. So there was some of that going on, but first of all, he did it in such a way of he really was respectful to us too. So it wasn't a demanding type thing, like you're going to do it this way or else type of thing. He was very receptive to any other ideas that we had too. But like even rewriting a few bass lines, I actually liked the ideas that he was throwing ahead and actually made the song better. So he was hearing it from a third-party view.
Absolutely.
So you have to respect, you have to respect the guy who sat in with Yngwie Malmsteen, in front of him.
Yep.
So I'm sitting there doing my bass lines, chunking along there, and I got, Mike Becerra there staring at me. And then if he heard something, he also can play. He's an accomplished piano player. So what he would do is he would play something on the keyboard and say, can you maybe try something around like this, or maybe play it in a different position? So it was stuff like that, but it wasn't too much. I mean, there wasn't a lot of changes. There was a lot of subtlety, and it just made the songs better. And we were receptive to that. So we knew that was going to go on.
Well, when you hear the final product now, you realize, what went into it and how great it came out. And you were saying, like, with the Graven Image, you want a low budget. You kind of did it on your own. And Andrew, you have to forgive me. I'm sick as a dog. I'm just trying not to sneeze and cough on the interview. Change the weather.
I'm getting a cold, too, so don't worry.
Now with this album, now you got Pure Steel behind you. Really well-known label. A lot of bands signing with them. Putting out a lot of old albums by bands. What's the difference between like going off on your own now and having Pure Steel? Kind of, they have you back now.
Yeah, well, it's a big difference. I mean, before, it doesn't mean that we have to rest on our laurels and not promote. But having them behind us, we don't have to run off the copies of the albums. Like, hey, we ran out of CDs. We have to run off more copies. Or, we don't have to worry about getting it into magazines and things of that nature. And then, they had a, nobody's getting the contracts that people got in the 80s, that type of stuff. But it was a very fair contract. There are things in there, obviously, that I can't really talk about, but there were a lot of good things that they do for the bands. But it all comes down to it is a business, and, basically if you sell records, the more records you sell, the more things that they can do to help you, put it that way, So, and they're a great bunch of people to work with. They've been phenomenal in their support of us, and there's a little bit of a language barrier because they are a German label, and their English is better than my German, so put it that way. So, but
yeah, I know.
So, I mean, you know, so there's a little bit of a language barrier, but they do, they do speak, really, good English and stuff like that. But there is a little bit of that going on. But they know classic metal, that like how we play the new wave of British heavy metal, is very popular there and still very popular there. So they know the market. So we trust them to do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, you talk about traditional metal and, especially American metal. You come from Connecticut. I mean, I remember making dozens of trips back there in the 80s when I was a kid to the Brick and Wood and other places in that area to go see shows. And I think about the bands that came from that area back then with Liege Lord, Obsession, Demon Axe, Sacred Oath. You guys, is the scene still vibrant now? Is it still, what it used to be? I mean, it's never going to be the 80s, but is it good?
The scene is still good. I mean, originally, though, I'm from the Bronx. So I'm not originally from Connecticut. So I'm from the Bronx, and then I moved up to, I lived in New Rochelle in the Mamaroneck area, during that time.
Yeah.
But, the scene is still pretty vibrant. We have bands that come from out of state or out of the country that are pretty amazed that we have such a decent metal scene. We have probably one of the most diverse scenes considering we're a small state. We have everything from death metal to hardcore, black metal, real progressive stuff, punky stuff, you name it. We have a lot of great bands. And there's also a resurgence. There's more and more bands that are coming up that are guys like our age that are actually putting out bands that are going back to the roots, Yeah. And what we tried to do was, we didn't consciously say, all right, we're going to try to be like Maiden or something like that. All of us just basically, when we write, just took all of our different influences. So you could hear a little Maiden there, you could hear some Sabotage or Priest or whatever, but it's not just one thing. And what we tried to do is make it fresh. So to have a little bit of a modern twist to it without, going overboard either. So, but there's some great bands in Connecticut that are, that are still out there playing, and it's a pretty vibrant scene. So you guys, if you ever want to come up, let me know. Even if you want to do like a live broadcast or something, maybe we could set something up at one of the clubs or something.
That would be fantastic to do one day. It's hard to get me out of Staten Island these days, except for going to work in Manhattan. I'm talking to a Bronx boy, so you know what it's like. It takes you 9.5 hours to travel from one borough to the next these days with the traffic.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, you were part of that great New York scene then back in the day. I mean, you knew what it was like over here with Lemoore and Lemoore East and all the other great clubs that we had here in the city. I mean, you missed the Bronx.
The Limelight. Yeah, the Limelight.
Limelight.
Yeah, I played there. I mean, I was in a band called Wretched War back in the day. We played a lot with the Cycle Sluts from Hell. We played, we did a lot of shows like that. We were kind of like a sleaze metal type show, that type of stuff. I was in a band called the Four Horsemen. A bunch of different, 10 zillion bands, from that era. Played all over Manhattan, Queens, played Lemoore East, Lemoore Brooklyn, even out in Long Island. I don't know if you remember my father's place and all those Hammer Jacks, all those places. I don't know if you remember Detroit's that used to be in Portchester. That was a long
Detroit's, I don't remember. No, that I don't. We got to Long Island too much.
Yeah. So, there was a lot of great... there was a lot more happening, I think, then than it is now. There's not a lot of clubs in Connecticut that do metal. There's probably maybe 4. But they're very supportive of the bands, and especially original music. There's a lot of clubs that all they want are cover bands, They want people, up there playing, Leonard Skinner or Tom Petty or what have you. You got to make a buck. That's fine, but there is still a pretty good original scene too. But It's still tough for the bands to get out there. That's why we kind of went with a European label, just for the fact that the fans overseas are so much more receptive to what we're doing than the United States right now. So a couple of years ago we went down to Puerto Rico and we played with Obsession, and it was like being in the 80s there. All the fans and people had their denim vests on with all the different bands on it, and the people like to buy the physical CDs. They like to buy the merchandise. They're not just about the download. So we're planning on returning to Puerto Rico hopefully next year. So hopefully, I think we have something hopefully in the works for that. So that'll be good. So we'll see what happens. The future looks pretty bright for next year.
Well, that's good. I mean, I look at it sometimes like, it's such a shame that, like, our own bands have to travel, out of the country to Europe, to South America, to play in front of artists that appreciate the music. I mean, we have just as many metalheads here. I mean, the U.S. is big. We're spread out all over the place, so it's not as easy to, to say, hey, I'll go to California to play today, Texas. It doesn't work that way. We all know it. But there are crowds, and I think what happens is that a lot of the older people, like, my age group, they go to a show. They want to spend the night there, see a whole bunch of bands playing. They feel like now when they go to a club, they're going to see the show and they're getting kind of rushed out because that club wants to turn into a disco at night or something different like Webster Hall, and they don't feel like they belong anywhere anymore. Where back in the day, when you went to a club, you felt like it was your place. You belonged there. You didn't care who was playing. You wanted to see every band on the bill, hear new music. I think that's what's kind of missing today. And, we're very trendy here in America, so whatever's not popular goes out the door and it's gone.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I agree with you. You had your place. Like, obviously the Lemoore crowd. In New Rochelle, we had Streets. I don't know if you remember Streets.
But I remember Streets.
Yeah, we had that. We had the Crazy Horse, in Yonkers. There was the Rising Sun. There was all these places. I mean, the Rising Sun, I saw Raven. I think it was Raven, Metallica, and Talus. So that goes to show you how long ago that was. Yeah, and that was a crazy show. I mean, it was a small place, and I got to see those bands like up close and personal back in the day. So, I mean, I remember when Metallica played Lemoore, I was 10 feet away from them.
I know it's crazy.
Wasp put on their full show at Lemoore's. I mean, the whole theatrics and everything. So I was lucky. I feel lucky to be part of that era. I don't feel like, hey, I'm an old man, and but kids. I see kids now with, Judas Priest T-shirts, Iron Maiden. So a lot of the young people, I even see them at the shows because obviously it ain't all us old dudes that are at the shows. There's young people going to these shows because there's a lot lacking. There's a lot lacking in some of the modern metal, in my opinion. I'm not saying I'm better or worse, but I think just there's some things I think a little lacking in some of the, if you call it new metal, but that's just my opinion, and what that means.
No, I agree with you. I'm up when you said you saw Talus. I mean, I remember seeing Talus were quite right at Lemoore, like 82, 83, and I was a bass player back then, and I remember going up there, and I didn't know who they were, and seeing Billy Sheehan come out. I was like, what the hell is that guy playing up there? That can't be a bass guitar. I mean, just like seeing that guy play up close, I was like, holy shit. I didn't think this would be played that way before.
Yeah, well, just think, God, in how many years ago how much better he is. I mean, like, you think then, how could this guy get better? And he is, even light years from those days, So, yeah, we were lucky. I got to see Randy Rhoads with Ozzy a few times. I got to see him at the Palladium, and I was real fortunate to get to see Randy, because, God bless him, this is his birthday today. And all respect to him, but I was one of the lucky ones to actually get to see him. So I feel fortunate about that too. But what can you do? I mean, I can't imagine him 60, 59, going to be 60 years old. either.
Wow.
I mean, would he have done in all those years? It would have been amazing, you know.
I agree. It's incredible. Andrew, the album is out now. What do you guys have planned? Anything? I mean, I know we're coming towards the end of the year right now. So in 2016, what are the plans? Are you going to look to get out locally and start playing? You going to try to get overseas maybe for some of the festivals in the summer if it's possible?
Well, yeah. Well, one thing, I hope you don't mind a little shameless plug, but a lot of our news and stuff, people can go to asdarknessdies.com, and we'll have, the latest news. Also, official As Darkness Dies on Facebook. We're pretty active with our promotions and updates on our Facebook and on our website. And obviously there's links to buy the album off the website. You can either get it from us or you can links to our Pure Steel. You can get it on Amazon, iTunes, and yada, 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 all the outlets, for downloads. But as far as plans go, we're going to probably be doing a record release party for, locally in Connecticut. We're actually going to be, we just had like a record release listening party. We couldn't play it because our singer Martin was in Ireland visiting family. So it was actually a release party / listening party. We didn't play, but Obsession came to town and they played. So it was a pretty big show. The place was packed. Unfortunately, obviously, we would have loved to have played that show, but we couldn't. But they were nice enough to play our record in between the bands, and it was a great great response from the people. But we're going to definitely put together a local CD release party, and then next year. Definitely, we're working on going back to Puerto Rico. We're probably going to be doing some sort of release party there because we do have a lot of fans there, and they really want us to come back. We couldn't really go back last year because we didn't have a new release or anything to promote, so it's really hard to get on the road unless you have something to promote these days. You got to pay the bills and everything. So this year, obviously, we have the CD, we'll have merchandise and all that stuff. So we're working on Puerto Rico. We'll also have some things in the works for some things in Europe. And we're also hoping to possibly do South America and maybe something in Japan. But these are all things that are possibilities. Right now, there's nothing etched in stone yet. But the definite possibility would be Puerto Rico and possibly something in Europe with a festival or two, which we're trying to get into. So we'll see how that goes. And locally, we'll probably do shows locally. I'd like for us to maybe possibly get into some places in Manhattan or Brooklyn, get your way and get some, new fans. And try to play out for the people, and maybe we can do like a little jaunt with some Connecticut bands, like do a night at one of the places in New York, bring like 3 Connecticut bands down there or something. That would be pretty cool.
That would be fantastic. I mean, Brooklyn has been like a hotbed of metal again lately, like in the Greenpoint area, Williamsburg area. It's happening over there. So if you can get back here, that'd be great. Then maybe you and I take a ride up Dark Avenue in the Bronx, have some Italian food.
Yeah, that's some of my old haunts there, Arthur Avenue.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You can't, you still can't beat the bread. I mean, up here we got some decent places, but for me, this was the hardest thing moving up here was food.
I can imagine.
Connecticut, they kind of bragged about that they were the originators of pizza in New Haven. But I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
This is going to get a lot of people mad around here. But I tell them that they don't really know what pizza is because that pizza is nothing like a Bronx pizza. Or
that's right.
I remember as a kid, we used to have fights with the Brooklyn people because they thought the Bronx pizza sucked. They thought Brooklyn pizza was better. So it was funny. But, yeah, to me, there's nothing like a New York pie. I mean, You know, and then people up here didn't know what the heck Sicilian pizza was because they're what they make. Yeah, what they make in New Haven, it's good, but it's like super thin crust. You know, it's super thin.
It's like that grandma pie they call it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but you know, it's okay. You know, whatever. But you know, they don't know what Sicilian is. You know, you ask for Sicilian, they're like, what the hell is that? You know, or a white pizza. You know, white pizza.
They don't get
that kind of stuff. Or you know what we can't get up here is good bagels. You know, there's no like mom and pop bagel places around here. You know, it's hard to get good bagels. But
when you come back to New York, you stock up on all the good products. You bring it back with you.
That's what I do, though. I hit my local pizza, right? I buy 2 Sicilians. I bring them home, and I freeze them like in 2 slice sections, you know, so I can take it for one.
That's it.
That's the setting. Yeah.
It sounds like
Castle.
It sounds like you missed the Bronx. It sounds like you missed the Bronx.
Yeah. We do. Anyway.
Hey, Link. Andrew, look, it was great having you on here today, man. I got another guest coming on in a little bit. I want to get on a couple of tunes from the record for everybody to hear. But you know what? Okay. Anytime you want to come back on, man, you're more than welcome.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the support. You know, without people like yourself and a lot of others, we have a few shows that are like yourselves in Connecticut. The Metal Fortress, the Metal Syndicate, OFNR, Radio. So there's like at least 3 different shows in Connecticut that are doing what you guys are doing. So keep the metal and crank it up. You know, we really appreciate all your support. Thanks a lot, brother, for your help.
That's what it's all about. You guys take care, buddy. Talk to you soon.